Ya hello and welcome back to Kinda Neat. Today we're diving deep into the weeb-time continuum in search of anime that correctly predicted the future as we know it today, starting with an example that is just too spot on to be a coincidence. The 1988 film Akira was essentially Katsuhiro Otomo's way of warning the world that the path we were headed down might lead to some pretty disastrous outcomes. But rather than heed his warnings, we just went, yeah, this should be 60 FPS.
Maybe we could sit down and talk about, the revolution and all that stuff.
But the overall state of the world wasn't the only thing he predicted. One scene prominently featured a sign advertising that the Tokyo Olympic Games are set to begin in 147 days. Which on its own isn't evidence that Otomo was a time traveler, except for the fact that this film takes place in the year 2019, making this an ad for the summer 2020 Tokyo Olympics. And if that isn't crazy enough for you, then hold on to your body pillows, because if you
zoom in right here on this spot.
Enhance section A6.
Enhance the detail and
there is graffiti below it that reads, "Just cancel it," which is exactly what the public sentiment was leading up to the event. So much so that exactly 147 days before the real games began, hashtag just cancel it was trending on Twitter. Now that is life imitating anime. Imitating life. And if that isn't crazy enough for you, then you should probably lower your expectations. But also hold on to your other pillowcase, because this goes even deeper. Although the motivation behind this Banksy isn't explicitly stated, there is a page in the manga that might give us a clue. Do you see what I see? Absolutely nothing. Exactly, because we can't read Japanese. But how about now? The World Health Organization criticizes Neo Tokyo's epidemic countermeasures. If you don't believe me, I can't blame you. I hardly believe me, but it's true. The next anime I want to talk about is the Studio Ghibli film Porco Rosso, which correctly predicted a flying pig.
After all, he's a veteran traveler.
So this is where things take a bit of a darker turn, so if you're a sensitive Sakura, maybe skip ahead a little bit. The popular live-action show Cowboy Bebop's source material features a scene in which the protag is rescued by a spunky duo flying a fictional version of the Space Shuttle Columbia. Rescued might be a bit of a strong word here, because it burns up upon re-entry due to an issue with the heat-resistant tiles. If you thought Netflix adaptations were bad, wait till you hear about this NASA adaptation, because only a few years later, the real Space Shuttle Columbia tragically burnt up upon re-entry due to, yes, you guessed it, an issue with the heat-resistant tiles. The creators of this show used their powers to write a space western and didn't even have the common courtesy to give NASA a heads up about it. I guess they just assumed that NASA was full of weebs and would see it on their own. Which, I mean, fair enough. Next up is an anime that you've probably never heard of, but I can guarantee the thing it predicted you have, because it is quite possibly the single most important invention of the last 600 years, which was when coffee was invented. I'm talking, of course, about virtual idols. From classics like Hatsune Miku, congrats on your wedding by the way, to the more modern VTuber.
My name is Gargura of How to Live English. I have a headache.
It can all be traced back to the 1985 OVA Megazone 23. Which prominently featured a virtual singer created to entertain the weebs of the world. But it didn't stop there. Much like Hatsune Miku, Megazone's virtual idol ended up romantically involved with one lucky little Next up is Serial Experiments Lane, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I understood a single second of what the f happened in this anime, but what I did do is type in Serial Experiments Lane explained and had a 12-year-old describe it to me.
Some think that Fortnite is overrated.
And 7 minutes later, I was fully convinced that he was a time traveler. No, not the 12-year-old, the show's creator. The anime follows Lane, who in real life, well, not real life, but real life in the anime, is a shy and lonely middle schooler, but online, she transforms into an entirely new person, one that is extremely popular, persuasive, and powerful. Over time, the two sides of Lane start to blur together, despite her father's warnings.
ワイヤードはリアルワールドと混同してはいけない。
It soon becomes unclear which version of her is the real Lane, which I think is a spot-on reflection of social media culture, where people's online identities are equally, if not more important than their real ones. I mean, if you ever saw the real me, you'd seppuku out of pity. And did I mention that this anime came out in 1998, making it incredibly ahead of its time? This video right here is the best video I am ever going to make. Trust me. I'm from the future.